The good news is the federal government is planning to expand, the front offices in UK. It's always a challenge here. Even here in Nigeria, if you visit any of the passport offices in Nigeria, go to Ikeja, go to Ikoyi, Alantam, they're planning to unveil a new one in Korodu, which is today, When you get to that office, it looks like a market because the crowd you see there, the congestion, a lot of people come in for one complaint or the other, and because everything is not digitalized, there's a part you have to manually do, has to be done manually, where you have to visit the office for your capturing and all that. But this time around, because of the complaints from Nigerians, from Diaspora, from US precisely, and from UK, the federal government is thinking of decentralizing these processes so that it will be easier to establish more front offices in more states and in more areas so that it can cover more grants. So the bottleneck or the inefficiency associated with getting your passport will be minimized, and this is to kick off next year, which is February 2024. Let me start with Idauza. What comes to mind anytime you visit the passport office here in Nigeria, and then extension to other offices in UK and US?
Rent seeking. You see, you create a whole lot of confusion and create avenue for rent seeking. And I think that's a problem. And I was expecting that the Minister of Interior will deal with this issue head on. There's no point that you're going to do passport and people are bringing in from back and forth, because the officers are supposed to be organizing these things and ensure that things are done orderly, are themselves not orderly. And I think those are the issues that we should address, because you set up front office, you're still going to put the same set of people out there. They're going to also create those confusion. Because once there's confusion, that's where corruption can thrive. If transparency is there and everybody understands that, look, if I have to do passport, the authorities understand the capacity their machine can carry in a day. They know the people who are applying for passport. We know what number or volume of passport we are having. We have an understanding with those who are producing the booklet to know how many they can supply in a month. And this is not a rocket science. All you need to do is tell somebody your passport will be ready on the 20th of May next year. The person will not need to come and queue. If you have capacity to accommodate 10 people, tell people that it's only 10 in a day. And once those 10 are taken, then the other people go home. Don't need to crowd there. But the crowd here, the crowd is creating the avenue for rent seeking, in my view. And that happens a lot. So people can jump queue. Some people can settle who came last to be number one. And I think this is not healthy for us as a country. And I don't see what is serious business in printing passports. You see, it beats my imagination as a person that something that the meeting and the printing company in Nigeria can print. What exactly is the security feature in this passport that cannot be printed, that Nigerians have to queue both home and abroad to get this passport? Now, if you have a company that has no capacity to deliver, what do? You cancel the contracts. Now, this is where we are as a people, that, you see, it's just, we don't have values. We don't have values. And this is the problem that we need to deal with frontally, value issues, so that those who have responsibility to deliver on a national good don't stay out there and looking helpless. We shouldn't be looking helpless. What is it to print a passport? There are a lot of people who are waiting there who want to do this business and do it like yesterday and do it efficiently. And then you give contract to somebody who is inefficient. And then nobody can talk about it. And everybody is doing as if it's a in Kigali, yes, there may be just 30 million people. You apply for passport today, 24 hours it is ready with capture. How did they do it there? Why is our own different? This is just embarrassing. And I feel that the Honorable Minister should step in and see what they are doing there. So if the immigration cannot print passport, they should take it away from them and create an agency maybe that will be able to print passport. It's just unbecoming.
Yeah, the problem is how we make simple things look very complex, and it becomes very stressful for every Nigerian. It is not just even passport, but passports is worse because the demand on it for international passport is quite high. In getting national ID card, you know the struggle it was when it just started. Even registering for the national identity number, NIN, became a huge problem. I don't know why we have that culture of making things that should just be easy. It should be what you don't stress, you don't sweat for as a Nigerian. It now becomes like you're applying for visa to go to heaven. And it becomes avenue for a lot of persons to get money off people, because not everybody wants to go through that stress. Or if you have an emergency, you have need for your international passport. I know persons who needed to travel down to Nigeria but could not do that because they didn't get their Nigerian passport renewed on time. It became a problem. So it's even better now that you even book for capture online before you go there to do your biometrics and all. When you had to go to the immigration office to do everything from scratch, it was worse. The rent-seeking was even worse at that particular time. And what is more annoying is the time that it takes to process the passport. Imagine applying for international passport and after 1 month, you're still not getting it. It's really a problem. Immigration has said that they're going for full digital automation, which should begin in December. We are in December. We're hoping that the full digital automation would mean that you don't have to queue for a very long time, and you don't need to wait after capturing for like 1 month, even 2 weeks before getting your international passport. I'm hoping that it would address all of this issue because it's quite easy to handle. Maybe it's a way of creating, I do not want to say a way of creating revenue for some persons, but the stress actually is unnecessary and is what we can handle.
I can imagine the frustration, not just imagine, if I witnessed it. I remember when I needed to renew my passport, I had to visit that office severally, These are things you could just do at the comfort of your home, Exactly. Now that it's going to be digitalized, let's hope that will get better. But you see, we tend to create this kind of bottleneck, where a situation where you create businesses where there shouldn't be businesses. Now, these bottlenecks are created in order to be for some people to take advantage of it, and some people have been taking advantage of it. In fact, it bothers me when you meet some people, they say, okay, I can get your passport for you in 1 week, in 2 weeks, and you wonder, are you an immigration officer?
The rates are different.
This racket
sharing,
talking about.
Yes.
You see, but we can even, if it's revenue, we can even make more money with passports. Nigerians will be ready to pay for postal service. That all you go to do, you capture. And then, of course, it's either you go to collect your passport in the post office or the post office bring it to your house if you can pay for it. And I think that's what every other person is doing. They do that in Kigali, they do that in the UAE. There's an arrangement between the passport office and the postal service. I remember collecting my resident permit in the UAE. I have to travel all the way to Sharjah to go and pick up the permit, or Ajuma. Now, the post office is there. They are the one that tells you your passport is ready. So you don't create confusion right in the office. So this is just the fact that, like Blessing says, simple things will make it look so complex. You see, but the real issue here is more than meets the ordinary eye. Because we need to continue to make this process look tedious so that we can begin to, is it padding they call the budget? Yes, for the agencies and the ministry. This is the real problem. If it is for the people who are seeking rent on the outside, it will be good. You know, when you see a situation is chaotic like this, and I usually tell people, especially when I'm doing training on revenue and resource allocation, one of the issues I always say, what quadrant will you want to put your resource? Is it where things are all very urgent and important, or where things are not urgent but yet important? And now what I find out from public officers most of the time is that they like money in places that are urgent and important. Because in that place, you cannot negotiate.
In fact, they will give the option. If you want it within 1 week, if you can pay, you get
Maybe
it.
maybe
Within
the
few
rate
days,
different.
you know, it has turned to another form of business or personal financing where some of them see it as an opportunity to get their own share of the national cake. And the annoying thing is the touting around these offices. You see people who do not have businesses there, touts who are even claiming to be officials, and they will give you the impression that they can assist or help you. You know, it has really created a lot of bad image when it comes to our nation, and it's a systemic problem because, like you said, it's not limited to the passport office. Get to some agencies, to some ministries, you see this racketeering.
Oh, my driver's license is February.
Yeah.
As we speak, I have not seen the license. It took me 4 months to capture. You know, about a week ago, road safety stopped me and said, "Where's your driver license?" I said, "It's expired." And I said, "Give me temporary. The temporary too is expired." He said, "I should go and do it." And I said, "Because I don't have job elsewhere. That all I be doing is to patronize your office. How do I be paying for your inefficiency? What does it take to print a common card and give somebody? I have paid." It's not that people are not paying. These things are paid upfront. So if people are paying at the point they are putting this money down, so which means it's really, you can't tell us you are subsidizing it. Then if the subsidy, remove the subsidy. Let us pay the actual so that the company who want to print can print our passport. But unfortunately, we don't really know what these issues are. You can't call it that it's fund related because people are paying for it.
It can be fund related. How much? We don't even know the official rates for procuring international passports in Nigeria because there are different rates. Some will tell you it's X amount. Some will tell you depending on your source.
I think it's clear from immigration. It depends on the number of pages you are doing. If you are doing 32 page, of course, there's a fee. If you are doing 64 page, there's a fee. For 5 years, for 10 years, the fee is not the issue. Now, for you, the official fee you can pay. But like he said, you are having a whole lot of tout in the environment. Now, who's creating this problem? They ask you to fill form online. You fill the form online, and then you come to the...
You still fill it manually.
You come to then they ask you to download it and photocopy it and open a file for you. So this is the problem. So we cannot fully automate because the process is afraid that if it automates, something is going to leave their hand. And this can't continue forever, for God's sake.
The good news is the minister is very proactive now. He's saying that every process now has to be automated. Let's give him a benefit of doubt. I'm sure some people will not be happy because what it means is some people will not be making money.
Benefits from
it's not going to be
want to
business
see
as
the
usual.
process
But we
work.
can't continue running a nation like this. You know, someone at a point must decide this thing has to change. And I'm happy the minister is coming up with this initiative that, hey, this thing has to stop. It has gone on for like years. And nobody is taking the initiative to say, okay, this thing has to stop. Maybe due to the background of the minister as well, and it's also good. So we're hoping that respite will come very soon, and then this will become a thing to celebrate in the coming year. All right, let's move on. Let's get to the Ministry of Solid Mirrors Development, where the minister, a very good friend of Idahosa, Alake, is saying that and the United Assistant Secretary for Energy and National Resources have agreed to establish a joint team of officials from both countries to explore financing options for credit to mining firms and infrastructure. You know, every minister has gotten a mandate from the president now to ensure that you have to perform in their first 1 year. And every minister now is coming up with plans, initiatives, setting goals to ensure that they hit their target. Now the Minister for Solid Minerals, Daniel Alake, has made a move to secure a partnership with the United States to tackle the issue of financing, which critically is a problem when it comes to that sector, the issue of infrastructure and financing. Because somehow this kind of partnership will give you a leverage to be able to take advantage of the resources inherent in that industry. Let me take it to Idahosa. This kind of partnership, what impact will it have? You know, you have an arrangement between Nigeria, a proposal now, you know, and between Nigeria and US concerning the issue of credit financing and providing infrastructure to be able to take advantage of resources inherent in the solid minerals development in Nigeria, in that industry or in that sector.
I think Delhi is quite strategic in this conversation. Going straight to sea, we have a lot of deposit of lithium, and it's also very critical for the electric vehicles regime that the world is trying to get into. And so, if we can't start the technology at home, but at least we can also open the door, since, of course, the raw materials that are required to boost that industry is on our soil. Developing that is quite critical. And don't forget that Dele Alake is actually pushing to see how the solid mineral ministry can be as lucrative as the petroleum industry. And he needs to prove himself, because a lot of people are taught that it was a square peg in a round hole. People had hoped that he would have been kept in his forte, which is communication. And now he's asked to go through something which is completely out of where he has played all these years. So he must also have to work out to prove himself. Like you said, the president is clear. At the retreat, he told them that this is like fetching water from a dry well, and he repeated it at the presentation of the budget 2 days ago. So everybody must find a way to fetch water out of the dry well. And so you see that you have to dig deeper to get to the bottom where you can get to where water is. Otherwise, you will go home empty. And I'm praying that these efforts that is making begin to use real maximum results, and that will lead to transformation of the solid mineral industry in Nigeria.
You know, the solid minerals has lots of potentials, but financing has often been the challenge. I remember one time when we talked about solid minerals here on L Exchange, and it's quite capital intensive, because exploration is not quite easy. Even doing survey to know what areas have deposits and all of that is not cheaply done. So the technology and all involved to ensure that you do not just explore for primary minerals, you also refine them to get the full benefits of them, because what we have right now is exploring, extracting, and then we sell, only for us to buy more expensively like we do for crude oil and petroleum products. But yes, if the partnership can pull in lots of financing into that sector, it means that we'll begin to enjoy the benefit, the gains, because Nigeria has lots of mineral deposits, and to just know that we have that and not harness it fully will be very sad.
You know, the impact of this will be the potential for foreign direct investment. When you have this kind of part or this kind of economic tie, it helps to develop your economy and then to develop that industry locally. The areas where we're having issues has to do with financing and the right infrastructure, or when it comes to technology, which I think the US has more edge in that area, and they are in position to assist. So this kind of collaboration is needed. And the president has been very proactive about this, talking about the need to have foreign direct investments, which is critical for a sector like solid minerals. Nigeria is blessed. The issue now is the ability to explore and then take advantage of what we are blessed with to maximize it and then make our economy better for it. And then Nigeria in returns will experience good standard of living. So let's give the minister.
You also realize too, because again, it's important that the government also don't have so much money to put in that sector. And the president is very clear on some of this capital investment. And so, like he clearly stated on the budget presentation, that of course they're going to rely so much on private-public partnership. And so all of what this drive is to see how we can reduce the debt burden of the country, so that we can see how we can enter into joint venture arrangements with people who have resources, and then of course we can begin to take some royalty, which of course further help the development of our basic infrastructures.
All right, let's look at what is happening in the agri sector. The Federal Ministry of Agri and Food Security has partnered with IFES to initiate dry season farming in Jigawa State to enhance farmers' productivity and address food shortage challenges. Dry season farming is crucial for food security in Nigeria, but it faces difficulties like unpredictable rainfall, inadequate imports, limited access to irrigated land, high equipment costs, and insufficient financing. You must agree with me that for us to be able to sustain our food production, you know, there's a need to help when it comes to the issue of financing and making inputs available for farmers. Dry season is usually very challenging because that's when you experience more of unavailability of these inputs. And now the essence of this partnership, which is being taken by the Jigawa state government in partnership with the Federal Ministry of Agri, is to ensure that these resources are provided for farmers at this period. This period, there will be more of drought, there will be more of inputs that will be needed to create that, to cover that vacuum that will be experienced around this period. So the essence of this collaboration is to ensure that farmers are not out of business. They are not going home doing nothing because it's an excuse to say, okay, it's a dry season. But now there's a provision to ensure that farmers are busy. They make provision in order to improve local production of food. Idauza, what do you think? How creative is this?
Well, it's always, I don't know how to put it now, something that makes me laugh most of the time when I see government making forays into areas that are supposed to be very private driven. And I think farm is private businesses and people should be allowed to do their farm if it were. What government could do is to encourage people to get into cooperative so that plenty of people come together to put resources to drive farm. Farm is a business. I've not seen where Nigerians go to food and market to go and buy food for free. People are paying for these services. So I feel that creating incentive for farmers so that they can have access to credits and facility at good rate is enough for people to really do. But I think that if we have to really deal with these issues of food security, this micro farming we are doing is not the way out. We need big time investment in farming. People who have the means to do the actual farm, to produce the actual food. If we're going to be relying on these small farm holders, and you are saying you want to invest money to do infrastructure or irrigation to this smallholder farm, it will be something that will not be fixable, or to be too costly for one government to handle. And I think what government can also do is to see how they can leverage and do even mechanized farm themselves and bring people into cooperatives, and then they farm in one neighborhood, and then of course irrigation can be supplied there. This is what for me is feasible. But for you to be looking at, and state government is too much interested in what small farm holders are doing, may not be the way out.
I think government is taking that route because it's some sort of social intervention. Food is a necessity, and sometimes you just have to do those things to support the smallholder farmers. But where the structures were already put in place, you have the Ministry of Agriculture working with the farmers. Maybe you have even up to the local government level, the farmers within a particular areas are known and registered under a particular cooperative or body. Then it's quite easy to maybe send extension workers to them to teach them how to do things. Then there's infrastructure they will need, like provision of irrigation so that we can have farming all year long, can be easily done, maybe sited at particular places, channeled. So if you have farms in a particular settlement, but it comes down to planning from the very beginning. Let's know where we should even have farm settlements and not farms scattered in different areas. It's quite easy to do that when you have a particular settlement. So it's provided in that area. Those who want to take up farms know that in this area you have irrigation provided. That way it will work more. But like you said, the smallholder farms will not take us anywhere. But that's how you still have farming practice in a lot of areas in Nigeria, except for a few individuals who have gone into it in the commercial aspect of it. Those ones even know how to provide themselves the very things they need, the water and every other thing. But it behoves on governments to create the structure so that the smallholder firms can easily come together, because by themselves, they may not be able to know what to do, how to bring themselves together, what they would need, and easily provide those things for them. So it's just like you have someone channeling the cost for them easily. Be that guide.
You know, if there is massive investment in the agri value chain, really, you see, this become very easy. because there's a partnership along the chain. The man who is the off-taker, who is either processing, understand that I need this thing to be able to make some money. So they can actually also plug investment in that area. And I think that's where we really need to encourage people. See, how do we encourage people to invest in the value chain of agriculture? So we don't see waste fruit, we don't see waste agricultural products. So as it's coming out of the farm, somebody is taking it off them. And then, of course, processing it and then selling to the market. So you will see this value chain, and that investment can come through that chain, whether it's from the mega supermarkets or superstores who are coming to take off from the factory. They put money here, then the factory themselves processing can actually put money in the farm in advance. And this funding can happen along this chain and reduce this burden for government. But I'm always very afraid when every time government want to intervene in every area. Blessing is always talking about social intervention. No. Social intervention sometimes can be very difficult.
No, but this
in short, I was reading from Serap recently, where they were actually warning that states should stop borrowing money. Because of the debt in the states, as we speak, when you put it vis-a-vis what is the national debt, I say Nigeria is owing 94 trillion. Most of those debts are in the states, and they keep borrowing. And you can't borrow to fund something that is not going to produce you money. So the deficit will continue to widen. So rather than get involved in this deficit game, why can't we just make use of what we have and encourage people? We have industrial banks, we have agricultural banks. All we need to do is to put the money there, let people go and take money to do their business, and then pay back to the system without necessarily having to intervene from time to time for something that should be naturally other people's business.